Are you excited for fall and all of the pumpkin flavored everything that comes along with it? I know I am. But one thing I'm not excited for is the hefty price tag that all those pumpkin muffins, pumpkin donuts, pumpkin coffees can have associated with it. So today I'm gonna show you 2 super delicious pumpkin flavor recipes that you can make at home for less than 50 cents a serving. Now that's a discount. The first one we are gonna go through is a pumpkin cream cheese swirl muffin. And they taste just as good as they sound. First up, I'm going to remember to preheat my oven. Not always the best at remembering to preheat my oven right away. So we're gonna do that first before we forget, and then we're gonna go into mixing our ingredients. We're gonna start off by mixing our sugar, our brown sugar, and our eggs together. 2 eggs. Plug in my blender. We'll get this blended. And this recipe calls for 15 to 16 ounces of pumpkin puree. So not pie filling, that one's a lot thicker than just the puree. And last fall, I actually processed our pumpkins that we bought from a local farm. And I cooked them, I took the skin off, and then I put it in the food processor and blended all the puree so we could have our own homemade pumpkin puree essentially. So now I'm just getting that out of the freezer because I put them in safety seal bags so it could stay fresh and keep in our freezer. So that's what I'm using this year. So that is an idea. If you get a bunch of pumpkins and you don't always carve them, you can process and make your own pumpkin puree. And we'll add the oil. So starting off, this looks pretty liquidy, but we're gonna add our flour next so it'll thicken up really nicely. Quickly, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of vanilla before I add my flour and the spices. Up next, we've got 1 3/4 cup of flour and our pumpkin pie spice and cinnamon, and then also salt and baking soda. We'll mix. So it's starting to get nice and thick. I'm gonna use my scraper and just scrape the flour away from the edges so it can get nice and incorporated. And that is one thing to note, most pumpkin purees or even pumpkin pie fillings do not come with a bunch of spices in it. And by itself, pumpkin isn't like super flavorful. So you wanna make sure to always add pumpkin pie spice, which is typically a mixture of nutmeg, cinnamon, potentially coriander, and a couple other things. All right, that looks so good. Now we'll move it over to our muffin tins. So actually, before we put this in muffin tins, we're gonna whip up the cream cheese frosting or swirl that's gonna go in with the muffins. So I'm gonna set our pumpkin mix to the side real quick, and we'll bring this bowl in. So I guess it's not a frosting, it's a swirl that goes in with the cupcakes before you bake it. So you need 8 ounces of cream cheese, and you want this to be softened. So I have had this sitting out for an hour out of the fridge. And we need 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 and 2. 2 teaspoons of vanilla, which I'm just gonna pour this in and eyeball it. That's good. All right, and the tricky part, I need an egg yolk. So you can buy just like egg yolks at the store, but I have an egg, so I'm gonna try this trick of keeping the egg yolk in the shell. And just kind of rock it back and forth. My mom growing up had a really like fancy tool that you could use to get the egg yolk out, but I don't have one of those. I should get one. All right, and now we have our yolk. Plop, plop that in there. I've washed my beater heads. Okay, whoops. And the reason I have a pot holder under my bowl is so that my bowl doesn't slide around all over the place while I'm mixing. So that is a tip. A tip you can use if you have real slick countertops and like a slick bowl with no gripper on the bottom, you can throw a hot pad underneath it to help it stay in place. Look how good that looks. Nice and whipped. Now we are ready to throw our muffins together and put them in the oven. I have these super cute little paper liners. They've got pumpkins on the bottoms, very fall-esque. So I'm gonna use these to line our muffin tins. And if you don't have paper liners, you can definitely just spray the pan too. Depending on the spray you use, you might wanna sprinkle a little flour on there so they don't stick. But I love these, they're just so cute and festive. And they also make silicone muffin tin holders now, which I haven't invested in any of those yet, but I've heard lots of great things about them. And this should just make one tray of muffins. I'm gonna use a half cup to scoop out the batter. And hopefully I don't make too big of a mess. So you wanna fill these about 3/4 of the way full. So then we have room to add that cream cheese frosting on the top and swirl it in. I'm so excited for these. They're gonna taste so good. I can already smell the pumpkin spice smell that everybody knows and loves. And for 50 cents a muffin, less than 50 cents a muffin, actually, I think the math was actually like 37 cents or something like that per muffin. That's a good deal. I know a lot of box mix muffins, I think are like $5 to $6 now. And then if you buy actually like pre-made muffins from a bakery, they're gonna be way more expensive than this. Because if you think about it, a lot of the ingredients you buy, when you buy them, you buy a big bag of flour in bulk, you buy baking soda, salt in bulk. Really the most expensive thing is if you need to buy your pumpkin puree, which I think is around $2 for a can now. So actually, we got a lot left over, so this might make 2 trays of muffins. Let me get my next muffin tray out. So that's even better. I did my math off of if we had 12 muffins, but we're gonna get, we'll see, maybe 24 muffins. So then they're even less than 37 cents a piece. I also have another video that you can check out that is 3 budget-friendly meals, so dinner ideas that you can make at home, and they're all under $2 a serving. I think it was around $1.80 per person, so under $2 for sure. And I have one is an air fryer recipe. The other 2 are both, no, one's on the stovetop, one's like a mac and cheese recipe, and the other goes in the oven. Whoa, look, I just, perfect amount, 24, or no, 25. 1 extra. We'll see how far this fills. I may not actually need all those. All right, so it looks like we didn't need 3 of these, so I'll take these out. And for the cream cheese swirl, I'm just gonna add a dollop of cream cheese in the middle and then use a toothpick to kind of swirl it around. I personally absolutely love cream cheese. I could just eat it on anything. I mean, I'm not going to, but I could. When I used to work at a summer camp, we would not argue, but kind of go back and forth about like what is the better frosting on cinnamon rolls, whether it's the sugar-based one or the cream cheese one. And I was always team cream cheese. Swirl that in with the pumpkin. It's not as easy to swirl as I figured it would be. All right, one done. I'm gonna set this over here before we put it in the oven. Now these will go into the oven for 18 to 20 minutes. Our muffins are done. They look so good. Smell even better too. Now that our muffins are done, we can take these out of their tins, set them on the rack to cool, and then we can move on to our next recipe, which is baked pumpkin oatmeal. Blanking on that word. Baked pumpkin oatmeal. This will be a really good one that you can serve for breakfast. It'd be really good with eggs or sausage, kind of like in place of like your pancakes, you have baked oatmeal instead. These smell absolutely delicious. I cannot wait to try one. I'm gonna try one here in a little bit. Probably once we get the oatmeal in the oven. Another reason to use the paper liners or silicone liners, not much to clean. It's so nice. Although I have found if you have a bottle brush, if you have a baby, obviously don't reuse the bottle brush, but a bottle brush fits in these circles perfectly, and it's the best brush to try and clean everything out in these muffin tins. So you could dedicate one of your bottle brushes to just staying in the kitchen and use to clean other things besides bottles. Well, now that I got that egg cleaned up off the floor, we can make the other recipe. An egg fell off my counter and I had to clean it up. That's what happened. But I got another egg and it's all clean, so we're all good. All right, so the baked pumpkin oatmeal, we start with, I'm gonna do my wet ingredients first. So our 1 egg, 1 cup of almond milk. You could also use whole milk or 2% or whatever kind of milk you would like. We only need 3/4 cup of the pumpkin puree this time, so I'm gonna measure that out in this glass. And then we have a 1/4 cup of pure maple syrup. I buy this brand at Costco. And it's 100% organic maple syrup. And the maple syrup will be your sweetener for this instead of using sugar. 1 tablespoon olive oil. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla. All right, and then we're gonna get our trusty old mixer back out here and we'll mix this up. And then after we get all the wet ingredients mixed, we'll mix in the dry. Didn't take too long. And now we have 2 cups of rolled oats. Since we're baking this, we want to use rolled oats instead of quick oats. And we have our baking powder, salt, and then pumpkin pie spice and cinnamon. And just like that, it's all incorporated. So that was really fast and easy. Now we just got to put it in our pan. And this time we're going to be baking it at 350. The muffins were 375 and this one's going to be 350. I'm going to clean up my area a little bit and then we'll throw this in the oven. In order to bake this one, you're going to want a 9x9 or 8x8 pan, so a square pan. And if you want to double this, like you have a lot of kids or you got company coming over, just double the recipe and then make it in a 9x13 baking dish. And I'm going to use parchment paper this time. You always want to have a good rubber scraper or spatula in your kitchen to really get everything. These are my favorite and I just found them on Amazon. I don't even know what brand they are, but they're my favorite spatulas. You just want to spread it so it all reaches the corners. Spread out. Put this in the oven and we'll check back in about 45 minutes. Since we have 45 minutes till our oatmeal is done, I'm gonna try one of these muffins. And I'm gonna pick one that has a lot of cream cheese. So good, it smells like fall. that perfect color. Wow. That is soft and moist and the best pumpkin spice flavor. That is so good. All right, well, I'm gonna go and finish this, and then I'm gonna package up these muffins so they don't dry out. And we'll be back to check on the baked oatmeal a little later. So I checked on our pumpkin baked oatmeal a little early, and I'm glad I did. I don't know why I thought that this little pan would need a full 45 minutes, but it probably was in there for 25-ish minutes and it's done. So took it out because I don't want it to get dry, and we're gonna check it out. It smells really good and it looks really good. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So this one you could roughly cut up into 6 pieces if you want bigger pieces, or 9 pieces if you want smaller ones. And I did the math of eating 6 pieces, so 6 servings, which came out to around 67 cents a piece. So still an amazing budget saver recipe. Instead of going to the store to buy pre-made baked oatmeal or baked brownies, you can make them at home for a fraction of the price. I'm just gonna try a small little sliver. Ooh, it's still hot. Wow, that is good. That'd be really good with a little bit of extra maple syrup poured over top, or a little whipped cream if you want to get fancy with your breakfast. But that's really good. And there you have it. 2 pumpkin spice recipes that you can easily make at home for a fraction of the price of what you would find to buy it in stores. Make sure to check out the description below. It has both recipes listed so you can make these at home as well. And it'll have a cost breakdown of all the math that I did to figure out how these are a great, cheap, budget-friendly option for you to make as well. Make sure to like and subscribe and come back again next time. Thanks, y'all.